This video that you are watching right here, right now, will go down as one of the most important videos of the year, maybe even the decade, okay? This is a generational video. Why? Because there's so much misinformation and so much bad knowledge out there about first cars. Whether you are a parent buying a first car for your child or you yourself are buying a first car, this is an incredibly important purchase. So you want to make sure that you're not screwing up anything crazy and that you're just getting one of the good options, because there are actually a limited amount of options that are just fully a good idea for a first car. So that being said, this video is pretty much going to cover every single first car that I see people buying out there and break them down into a tier list. I know you're strapped for time. I got midterms. I'm strapped for time. So let's not waste any more time and get right into the video. Okay, but first, I know I said I'm strapped for time, but I still have time to tell you to join my Discord and follow me on Instagram. Gotta do that. Let's get into the video. Starting off, we have the gold standard of car in general, loved by enthusiasts and normal people who just want a good car alike. We have the Honda Civic. Now, you might expect this to instantly go into gold standard, but I'm going to explain why that may not be the case. The Civic is a compact car. It's Japanese. It's reliable. It's known to be all the good things that you would want in a car. But the issue is it's gotten so well known that it's just overpriced. I talked about this in my last video. Civics everywhere, all across the lineup, no matter what year, I believe to be overpriced. Now, are they good cars? Yes, but you could save money and get better cars, which I'll talk about later in the video. Now, if you're going to go for a Civic, I would suggest the 8th generation that looks like this. It's kind of in the middle where it's not too new, but it's not too old, which means it's still a good, solid car that'll do everything you want, and it's also not too expensive. Anything older than the 8th gen Civic, and you're getting into enthusiast territory collected by these like 90s Japanese car people, and those will be expensive and heavily modified. And then anything past the 8th gen is just way too expensive and hasn't dropped enough in value. So the 8th gen is the one that I would recommend for a first car. However, across the lineup, no matter what, these are overpriced cars. There's no way around it. Civic tax is a real thing, okay? What ends up happening is people think, oh, the Civic is just a standard of car you have to get, end up getting some super high mileage clapped one, when for the money they're spending, they could get something a lot better. For that reason, this probably is the most controversial take in my life. There's better. Next up, speaking of better cars, we have a 2000s Toyota Camry or Honda Accord. Okay, so anything in between 2000 and 2010, that's a Camry or an Accord. Now, these cars do it all for anyone, but especially for a first car. They're big enough that they're safe, but they're not too big like a lot of modern cars are. They're Toyota Honda. They're obviously going to be insanely reliable, and they have a lot of options that make them enthusiast ready. Like, for example, you can spec these with a V6 if you want more power at the expense of a bit of gas mileage. You get these with manual. For that reason, I'm going to put these right into gold standard. Next up, we have the entire segment of subcompact cars. Now, essentially what the subcompact car segment are these small cars, smaller than the Civic, Corolla, Mazda 3, that compact car segment. They're a step below. Now, this segment includes the Toyota Yaris, the Honda Fit, the Ford Fiesta, Hyundai Accent, Kia Rio, Mitsubishi Mirage, Nissan Versa. Those are the main ones. There's more out there. Now, over in Europe, where they do this crazy thing where they actually only buy cars that they need the size of, this segment is a pretty good segment. It's well built out. It's very competitive because a lot of people buy these cars. But over here in North America, these are not commonly bought cars. It's a very small and dying segment. And that means that manufacturers are not going to put a lot of effort into making these cars good. And the result, you have a segment full of trash, okay? People somehow still buy these cars when every part of them is complete garbage. Over here, they're terrible to drive. They're not even that efficient usually for the size of the car. They're insanely underpowered, like almost dangerously underpowered for some of them. And they're extremely unsafe, which should be a huge requirement if you're buying a first car. Now, the reason people buy these cars is because they get tempted by the fact that you can get a newer car for the similar price of an older, bigger car. For example, you could probably get a 2010s Hyundai Accent for the same price as like an older Toyota Camry. Then people want the newer car, the newer tech, and they're like, oh, I don't need all that power, so they get the subcompact car. Wrong, okay? Every single car in the segment is trash. Now, the unicorn is the Honda Fit, but I mean, go check out the prices of Honda Fits and then let me know if you still want to buy one. The rest of the cars in the segment, garbage. Do not fall for the trap that you can get a newer car for cheaper. You're way better off going for an older mid-size car for a similar price. I'm going to put these subcompact cars and never buy. Next up, we have the Mazda Miata. Now, there's a joke that the Miata is always the answer, and is that necessarily true? Well, it's kind of complicated. Now, there are 4 generations of this car. There's the NA, which is the original with the pop-up headlights. There's the NB, there's the NC, and then there's the newest ND. Now, the ND is instantly out because it's too expensive as a first car. and the NA is out because it's unsafe, and for what you're getting, it's pretty overpriced. So that leaves the middle two as viable options, the NC and the NB Miatas. Now, the NC is a very good, very modernized car, but it is a bit more expensive and it's a bit bigger. So that leaves the NB Miata as pretty much the gold standard for which Miata to buy if you're getting a first car, or just in general, to be honest with you. And yeah, I think these are honestly great. The NB Miata, any Miata is going to be lightweight, fun, super enjoyable, not too powerful, but still enough that it's not like a subcompact car you just can't go anywhere. These cars are honestly great. In fact, so great, I'm looking to get one. I'm actually looking to buy an NB Miata. I would have had one by now, but I keep getting tickled by these Facebook Marketplace sellers. I can fully confidently recommend the newest generation that you can afford. But I think for the sweet spot for price, the NB Miata is fantastic. You can't really go wrong with these. I'm going to say mostly good. Next up, we have 2010s German luxury sedans. So we're talking about the E93 series, the W204 C-Class, and the B8 Audi A4. Now, these cars get scooped up all day by young guys because they are swag, they're cool, they're prestigious looking, and yet they're so cheap. It like almost seems too good to be true, where it's like you can have a car like this for the price of like a used crappy Civic. You're thinking, why doesn't everyone do this? Well, when something seems too good to be true, it often is. And that is the case with these cars. I'm sure you know, but for the unaware, these cars are incredibly bad for reliability. Now, yes, if you get a well-maintained one and you're on top of your maintenance, then sure, it can be fine. But if you're looking at one under 10K, which is what most people look for a first car, it's just not a good idea, okay? The maintenance on these is like incredibly high, super hard to manage, which means, yeah, you're paying a cheap upfront price for these cars, but then you're going to pay so much more in maintenance, and the maintenance is going to be more frequent because these cars are relatively unreliable. So the truth about these cars is that even if you can afford to initially buy the car, you should probably have double the amount of money than what you're buying the car for just for the maintenance in the next few years. These cars are incredibly expensive to keep operating. I think too many young guys, specifically ones that look like myself, are falling for these cars. Don't fall for them. They're tempting. Do not buy. I'm going to put usually a bad idea. Next up, we have using your family's car. This is fantastic. More people need to do this. If it's one of your family's cars, usually they'll be taking care of maintenance. If your parents really like you, they might even put you on the insurance on their dollars. So pretty much all you have to do is gas the car and maybe pay for insurance. If you're on the setup, be incredibly thankful. You're saving so much money. Your parents' car should be the gold standard if you have access to it. Next up, we have another default car, the Corolla. Now, the Corolla won't be as fun or as engaging as, say, a Honda Civic in general, but it's cheaper, arguably more reliable in most cases, and less expensive. So not much to say here. It's a very reliable, overall pretty good, safe, efficient car. It's going to be the gold standard. Next up, we have financing a newer car that you can't afford the full price of. Now, a lot of people say, hey, I don't want one of these old crappy cars. For my first car, I'm just going to finance something newer that will last me longer, be more reliable, and all this stuff. This is a terrible idea, okay? Especially if it's a new car, but even if it's just a newer car that you can't afford, this is just not a good idea. When you're buying your first car, I'm assuming you're a student, which means you don't have that steady of an income. You probably only work summers or at most like a part-time job during the year, which means you cannot afford another payment, okay? You're already, when you're buying a car, paying for maintenance, gas, and insurance. Throw on top of that like a $300 to $500 a month payment. Like, you are going to be struggling financially. You're going to be working for this car pretty much. And the argument that, oh, you'll save it in maintenance and all that is just BS. If you buy a well-maintained Japanese older car, you arguably might have less maintenance because of how simple and easy to work on they are. For that reason, I'm going to tell you guys, never do this. Never ever finance a newer car unless you're insanely wealthy and can afford it. But then this list probably doesn't even apply to you in the first place. Next up, we have the standard for sporty, kind of powerful Japanese sports coupes. We have the Nissan 350Z. Now, this is another one where, like, I don't know, 5 years ago, it probably would have been a better buy because they're more available. But unfortunately, Nissan 350Zs are just way too expensive, okay? That's just the truth. There's nothing wrong with them if you can get access to one for a good price, but you just can't. Now, a lot of these cars have been converted to drift cars or just thrashed overall by younger people. And then those are the cars that are actually reasonably priced, but you do not want those cars if you're buying your first car, which means that the ones that are actually in good condition, the ones you'd actually want to buy, have gone up in value, and people are still buying them. They're no longer reasonable buying. If you want a fun sports car, lose out on some power and get an NB Miata, in my opinion. If you can find one for a good deal, sure. But in general, it's hard to find one that's been well maintained for a good deal. So I'm going to put them at usually a bad idea. Next up, we have the Mazda 3. Now, I think Mazda as a brand has been heavily underrated for so long, and the Mazda 3 is no exception. So for a first car, you can get the first gen, you get the second gen. You can even maybe touch a third gen if you have enough money. And these are all fantastic buys. They're very efficient. They're Mazdas, so they have very engaging driving dynamics. You can get them in manual for a lot of the time, and they're going to be very reliable. The Mazda 3 is 100% a gold standard car. Next up, we have the Toyota Matrix. Very similar to the Corolla in terms of size. It's a compact car as well, but it's a hatchback. More space for your stuff and your friends. I think these do come at a bit of a price premium, but they're just as reliable as any other Toyota. You can get them in manual a lot of the time. They fit more stuff, gold standard for me. Next up, we have a Volkswagen Golf or Jetta. Now, a lot of people, when they want a compact car, instead of going for like one of the big three Japanese brands, will go German because they want something a little different feeling, a little more premium with that German engineering. But the problem with German engineering is that it just overcomplicates cars, and German engineered cars are just more unreliable on average, and that's a fact. Now, if you're going for a GTI, it's a different story, but these compact cars, you're not buying to have a ton of fun in, which means you should mostly be looking for reliability and cheap to maintain, and these are just not going to do it. If you're going to risk it with a German car, you might as well get something fun. Yes, these are cool. Yes, they can be reliable, but I overall think there's a lot better. Finally, we have 90s and 2000s Toyota RAV4s. Now, I included this because not everyone wants a car. Some people want something a little more, an SUV. So this is the one that I'm going to include. In general, SUVs aren't the best first cars because they're just way more inefficient. But depending on where you are, what your needs are for a car, you may actually need one. And this is where the 90s or 2000s Toyota RAV4s come into play, okay? So for a RAV4, they're all good buys, okay? Basically, just get the newest one that you can afford, but you really can't go wrong. They're all decently reliable. You can get older ones in manual. I can't fully recommend these because, honestly, one of these more efficient cars with winter tires will do perfectly fine in most conditions. But if you really need an SUV, these are probably pretty good. That is the ultimate first car tier list. As every first car I see people getting in a tier list. Go for any of these. Risk it with these. Don't get the rest. That's the summary. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you in the next one.